Guys. Stemming from the tarot videos, and now I have numerology videos posted, so you can kind of know a little bit about that too. Um, I wanted to kind of go back to basics here and do, a video about the 12 zodiac signs and what kind of factors they emphasize in our lives based on your birthday. Um, there's 12 total. Obviously, by now we all know what those are. Um, and I think the misunderstanding a lot of times is that, say, we're looking at Leo, for example. Leo emphasizes the hair. It doesn't necessarily mean that every Leo out there has the best goddamn hair on the earth. Actually, quite the opposite. It just means more so that hair plays an emphasis in their life. So it's something that they struggle with. Maybe it is something that they do really well with. Maybe they do have that gorgeous commercial hair, that everyone admires. But I can speak to, in my case, I haven't showered yet, but I really, really struggle with my hair, taming it, um, making it do what I intend to. I really just that's just one like little example of kind of like how I'm going to kind of go after each of the 12 signs and how we can kind of tackle looking at things. Not necessarily mean that those Capricorns, those career-oriented people, are going to have like the top-notch careers of their lives. No, it means that they're going to be always working towards having that, and it's some emphasis of their life. So whether they're really at the bottom of the ladder currently in life, they have aspirations to get to that top portion. So it doesn't necessarily mean when you meet a Capricorn they already have all that shit down, that they've already gotten the career that they've wanted. It just means that job really plays more of an emphasis in their life as opposed to other people, because they have that planetary influence of Saturn. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about, and maybe hopefully give you a little more understanding of why we have these misnomers of like, well, we should be great at whatever our sign represents, and that's not really the case. That just means that's that thing that we're going to work on in this lifetime. So I guess we'll just start with the first sign, Aries up to bat. So excuse me. And then we'll just move, around the circle. So when we're looking at the circle, Aries starts at 0 degrees, and then we go all the way, and Pisces brings us back and ends it. So first sign, Aries, Aries being the child, we really struggle with, um, well, struggle is the key word there, because Aries literally means struggle. Mars energy, wherever it is in your chart, means struggle. So it's your action-oriented driving force. So it's like kind of your weapon. So wherever it is in your chart is kind of like what you attack with. So for me, I can speak to myself most easily. I have a Mars in Virgo, so my detail orientation really kicks in, and that's how I really can kind of be the best at certain things. It's like putting together a puzzle with that Virgo. They're finding the missing parts and pieces because they like Pisces, which is the mystery, solving the maze and the riddles and all that. So Virgo's finding those secrets and finding that key that unlocks everything. And so for me, that Mars in Virgo really comes out. I'm really detail oriented. And then sometimes on the flip side of that, I actually struggle with remembering details to a fault. And so, like, some of my friends will tell me something, and then it can be 10 minutes later or it can be a week later. No matter how important it is, I might just completely forget about it. I don't know what it was, and it's not something I do intentionally, and I'm sure at this point they understand But that's kind of like the give and take. So it is a struggle. So it's at the same time it's your driving force. Um, it kicks into high gear and it goes, but it's also something that um, you have difficulty with. So Aries is they're really interesting because I think they want to take life by the horns, by the reins, and just kind of chart their own path and everything. But at the same time, that child needs help and they cry out for it. So it's like this weird give and take, where they really want to be on their own journey, but they realize that they do need people, they do need help sometimes, and it does emphasize like being able to ask for help. I think that's something that every sign should be able to do, or has to do at some point to get what they need. But yeah, Aries, I would say, really is the struggle. It could also emphasize children. So as well as Leo, but Leo is more so your own children, like your own offspring. Aries is just children in general. So for Aries signs, they either love being around children or it really strikes a chord with them, and they're always like, oh, these rambunctious hooligans, it's like it's annoying or it's really fun for them. So we've got struggle, we've got children. Let's see, Aries. Um, it could emphasize war because Mars is the god of war. And Greek mythology really has a heavy overlay with astrology, and I think the two go hand in hand a lot. And so that could mean war would be military. So you could see a lot of Aries in the military, or just have like a lot of ideas about the military, whether they're very against it. So this is kind of tying into like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that like, oh, you meet an Aries, oh, they're in the military, oh, they have children, or they're extremely childlike, or um, they struggle with everyday life and asking for help and all that. It doesn't mean all that. It just means that that stuff is going to take an emphasis. So whether they've joined the military or they've run away from the military or they have notions about it, like there's all of these concepts there, and it just emphasizes those things in their life. It's not like every Aries is going to have done this one thing, okay? Because we have thousands and thousands of possibilities, and then you factor in, our own freedom of choice. Like we make our own decisions. So I think destiny kind of shapes things and kind of molds you, but we make choices at the end of the day. So that's the great part about you can work against your sign if you want to, but those things will always resurface again because it's within you, it's your skin, especially when you're looking at your sun sign. It's how people will see you. um, but anyways, I digress. So we looked at Aries here. So we're moving from the child, the warlike, the struggle, um, and then that fiery energy, and then we're moving into Taurus, so which is the second sign. Now Taurus represents possessions, money, materialistic things. So it's like when you get to that certain age where you start to get an allowance from your parents and you start to earn things for yourselves because you're doing chores and you're working on things and you're being more productive. You're not just asking for help like Aries. Again, like I said, not that they ask for help, but that's kind of like the taking that emphasis. So Taurus. So we look at possessions. So do they have a lot of possessions? Sure, they may have a castle. It could be the richest sign, the richest people that you meet, or it could be the exact opposite, the ones that live on next to nothing, that have to really, really fight for survival. And that they really don't have any materialistic means. So that's the thing. Maybe they've sworn off money and what it does to people, but there's definitely that notion too. So they that hard work can either be um, those earth signs can either be really hardworking individuals, or they can be the type that have kind of taken a back seat to work, and maybe they would rather just kind of be a little more go with the flow, or um, with work in general. What am I trying to say here? I found this in a few different people over the years. It's almost like, um, I guess, complacency in a way. But I think Taurus, with that Venus energy, they really just like to be kind of diva-like. And with Libra in the sixth house of work, they really can fall into that doing the easiest job, or doing something where they really don't have to work hard. So it's like one of the two extremes. It's either they are that Christian Grey archetype that's like, the top of his company, and he's making all the decisions and he's making all the money, or it could be, vice versa, in that like this person really just um, doesn't have any way of amassing money or material possessions. It's just not something that's constant in their life. So that's the real one there. So it's a little easier to pinpoint with Taurus as opposed to Aries, because Taurus is really about the physical world. And Taurus also is about the senses. So your hearing, it represents your mouth specifically. So they can either have, when we were talking about body features, I didn't really mention Aries, but Aries is all about the head. So that could mean that, the mind plays a big emphasis, even though it's not necessarily an air sign. It goes like, a ram's head is just going to butt. So it's more of like a directional energy than necessarily a mode of thought. And then we go into Taurus, so we go from the head to the mouth. The mouth is eating, it's talking, it's verbalizing, it's hearing, it's listening. So we really go from being in our own world to a more mature way of interacting with the world with Taurus. We're listening to others. We're taking in things while also giving back. We're getting a little more. We're adding more onto that astrological personality the farther we go through the signs. So Taurus will emphasize the mouth. So whether this person has like luscious lips, gorgeous lips that you just can't resist, or maybe they've had some piercings and it's really like kind of like ruined it or made it look a little weird. Maybe their teeth, even though Capricorn has teeth, the Taurus still emphasizes the mouth. So, their smile could be either the best in the world, or it's something that they're really self-conscious about. Maybe they don't have like the most perfect teeth or something. Maybe their ears stick out. Something like that. It's just emphasizing those features. Now, with the Venus aspects, you typically see that Taurus and Libra, being represented by Venus, are going to be more pleasurable aspects. They're going to be more um, alluring, or a little more good looking, based on what we know about Venus. Venus is the goddess of love, and you allure people because of your outward beauty and all that. So typically with those two signs, you're going to notice more um, um, like appealing features as opposed to not. So, but allergies, I don't know if I mentioned that, but allergies can take a toll on Taurus as well. Um, so whether they have really good sense of smell and hearing, and all those kind of senses, they could also have allergies, so they could struggle with it, because it is also represented those things as well. So maybe they get sick a lot, maybe they sneeze, they're coughing, a lot of those kind of symptoms constantly. So anyway, so we're going from Aries to Taurus to Gemini. So we move from Taurus, which now we can utilize our mouth. In Gemini, we can really put it to good use, and we kind of maybe overdo it. When we talk about Gemini, Geminis are the talkers, but interesting enough, as I'm saying with this give and take with the signs, so Geminis emphasize talking and communication, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all Geminis are chatty Cathys, okay? On the contrary, I think with, especially since they represent duality, um, they can be extremely quiet and extremely talkative and engaged. In the manner of the same conversation, they really go back and forth. And so I think them, maybe more than most of the other signs, especially the mutable signs, represent that duality really easily. Um, but that emphasis, that communication is going to take an emphasis. So whether they really struggled with language and reading at an early age, and now they're orators or public speakers, it could really show that kind of journey for them or what they're working towards. But either Geminis are really really good at getting what they need to say out, or they really struggle with making their point and communicating and um, motion. So that's that. Cars, transportation takes an emphasis. So whether this person has the most sought after car out there, or they have like a piece of shit that they can't keep, maintained, or it's the car that like blows smoke everywhere when you start it. Speaking for myself, but so it's like one of those two extremes. Okay, so Gemini, we've got communication, the cars. Let's see what else. The arms and the hands. So this person could be, um, maybe they could like make commercials with their hands or something, or they could even, like be missing fingers, or like hopefully not missing a whole arm, like an amputee or something. But it really takes an emphasis. So you'll notice body parts on certain signs just because they're supposed to stand out, because that's their sun sign. That's how other people see them. So you'll notice, like me, I have Gemini in me, and I talk a lot with my hands, and I like to move my arms a lot. And I think a lot of people notice that about myself. Um, and I typically, yeah, yeah. Anyways, so we're moving from Gemini now to Cancer. So when we talk about Cancer, we still continue that duality, I think, that started in Gemini, but now we're moving into a more nurturing aspect, into the summertime. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini is really about starting, and then the summer signs, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, are really about um, putting that initiation into more productive use, or putting it, carrying it a little further, um, and maybe establishing a plan or a goal. So with Cancer, you have the mother. Um, and family. So mother and family are really emphasized here. So whether you have a mom that's like that soccer mom that everybody knows around town, and that just has that like great energy that kind of engages everyone, and if you're known for who you are in relation to your mother, that could be a symptom of that, or it's that you maybe are orphaned, or like you really don't even know who your mom is, or you really really struggle with your mom. There's a lot of fighting, lots of tension all the time. It's not a very cohesive relationship. So that's a big emphasis there. Maybe you really struggle with family. um, yeah, things like that. So those are real hot topics. Cooking is really big for Cancer because it also represents food. Because when we look at who provides the food, just like the dad brings home the bacon or the paycheck, but the mother is really the one that's making it. So moms are always associated with food in astrology, but more so Cancer. So your Cancerian signs are either really good cooks, or they don't know how to cook worth shit. Um, So it's kind of like one of those two. So that's Cancer for you. And then when we're going into Leo, this is already getting a really long video, so I may have to cut it at the sixth sign and then do the rest in another. When we're moving into Leo, as I was talking about earlier, the hair plays an emphasis. So whether this person could work at a salon or this person doesn't maintain their hair at all, like they use like really cheap shampoo, they just maybe they don't even have good hygiene. Yeah, so it's something, or maybe it's just their haircut is just like so weird, or they just don't maintain it. So it's like one of the two. Like it's really pleasurable, um, or it's something that they really struggle with. So for me, for example, I have the mustache here. That's that facial hair is similar to hair. So Leo, you're really looking at what's presented. Um, and, for me, like I said, I really struggle with maintaining my own hair and getting it to do what I want. I'm often not satisfied with it. Um, and so that's kind of like how it plays out for me personally. Now, Leo also represents the heart. And so the heart's harder for other people to notice because it's an internal organ. It's not like, the head, like whether Aries has big foreheads or they have that V shape right there with the eyebrows, which is what they're known for, like that ram shape. Um, and then the Taurus are, the ears, the mouth. So it's stuff that you can really recognize. Now the heart is more so an inward, but with the heart aspect, it's that Leo's kind of emphasize love. And so it's not necessarily that they're always in a relationship. Um, Leos have very strong infatuations, which plays out into Virgo, which is the next sign. But that they're either very loving and they have a relationship in their life, or that they're always seeking one or seeking kind of a suitor or something like that. So um, yeah, I wouldn't say that Leos don't love, because I don't think that's true. I just think that love is an emphasis, so it's something that they either have or that they're always seeking, more so than the other signs. I feel like sometimes the other signs, when I look at them, it's something that kind of comes into their lives, and it's not so conscious. But I feel like for Leos, it's something that's very, very, it's always stirred up in them, whether they really communicate that or not to the people around them. It's something that's going on constantly. And it's also a self-love, because when we look at Leo, it's less about the union, which is more so Libra and Capricorn, um, and it's more about the self. So Leos can really, really struggle with self-confidence, how much they love themselves. So these are people that need a lot of encouragement and stuff, which is a weird juxtaposition, because they also are kind of like the cheerleaders of the zodiac, or the coaches that are inspiring others. But at the end of the day, they also need that too. So it's really important for them to surround themselves with people that truly motivate them as well to be that strong person that they know they can be. Um, but yeah, so it's a self-love. So either they don't have a lot of self-confidence, or maybe they have to the other extreme, and then we get that stereotypical egocentric Leo that loves that spotlight and everything, which I will say I don't find in most Leos. Certainly not myself. I'm kind of a mitigated Leo, since I come on the cusp with Virgo, so I'm a little shyer, but I still don't see that with a lot of Leos out there. I don't see that they really revel in the spotlight. I just see that they're carrying themselves with that kind of conviction or that sense of purpose, more so than other signs. So they do have to stand a little taller. Um, but it's going to be one of those two. So self-confidence, the father really plays an emphasis here. So this is your dad, basically. So you either have this great relationship, or it really hits you hard, and it's really something you struggle with. Just like with Cancer with the mom, we have Leo with the father. So it's It's going to be pleasurable or not so, but it's going to take that emphasis in a Leo's life. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then, if you do have children, they're going to be emphasized too. So Leo is the offspring that you have, the love you can give to those children. It's not um, if you are a child or if you're childlike necessarily. It's more so passing that love on. For in order to have love, you have to be able to give it, to put it in a direction or put it into something, because love without a purpose is just, it's not significant, right? We have to have something to love. But anyways, so moving into Virgo, which is probably maybe the last one I'll do for this video because it's getting pretty long, is a sixth sign. So that's the halfway point. So we're closing out the summer cycle and the southern section of the chart when we look at the circle. So Virgo takes Leo's giving back leadership notions and kind of, I'm going to use the word mitigate again, and kind of like softens them a little bit and makes it more of an inward private journey as opposed to reaching out and inspiring others. It's more of self-fulfilling prophecy, so it's more directed inwards, um, and getting to a place to where they can be a part of a charity or an organization that gives back, or run an adoption, like work with a shelter, doing something that's in service to something else. So it takes that kind of that guidance, that Leonian helpfulness, and love, and it puts that maybe more so into action on a smaller scale, and can do some real good. So when we look at Virgos, I guess starting with the body parts, so we have the stomach, the digestive system. So Virgos have very sensitive stomachs, or they have stomachs that are hard as rocks, that they can consume just about anything, or and it not bother them. Or maybe they're on the reverse side of that, where they're, I don't know, lactose intolerant when they have they have to do things that are gluten free, or um, you know, or they're vegetarians or vegan. That really plays into Virgos too, being the sign that represents animals. Um, so that really plays a big emphasis, but it's the stomach. Maybe this person has like rock hard abs. Is always wearing like not muscle tanks, but those crop tops where you can see the little bottom. Or maybe this person, has a larger stomach. Maybe they struggle with kind of being a little healthier, because Virgo is the health sign. So you're going to see either a really healthy person or a really not so. Like they really make bad decisions in reference to health, or they, are a fitness instructor, or they're in the gym like practically every day. So it's going to be one of those two. And then, like I said before, pets are emphasized here. So either they really, which I haven't found many Virgos that are, but maybe they really just do not like animals. Maybe they're, like superstitious about black cats or something like that. Or, anytime like one comes near them, they're just like, cringe, I don't know what to do. But most of the time, I will say with Virgos, I see pets, lots of pets. So this is like that household of pets, a family of pets, or it could just be that solitary one that really means a lot. So, um, it's one of the two extremes when we're looking at each sign. So it's a lot or not, or it's a struggle, or it's really pleasing. So it's But whatever it is, it takes an emphasis in the person's life, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So, because I think the misunderstanding with a lot of zodiac stuff is that um, if it represents your sign, then it should automatically be something you're good at, or you're known for, and that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you may be known for it, but it's because you struggle with it. And so I'm just trying to put that a little more into perspective for people that are just like, why, do I don't know, do cancers always get like thought about like that they're really good cooks or something? Like, I haven't cooked a day in my life, you know, speaking, I'm not a Cancer, but I'm just pretending to be one. Or what is it about Tauruses that, you know, they say that can hear so well? Like, I can't hear somebody that's in the next room to me, even if there's nothing going on or something like that. So, um, yeah, so it's just going to take a bigger emphasis in your life. So I hope that was kind of a good summary of the first 6 signs. I'm going to break this video up into 2, just because it's going to be so long otherwise. Okay, so see you in part 2.